If you have been following the lead-up to the 2024 presidential election, you are probably aware that the most likely showdown will be a rematch between sitting President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. This is the first time this has happened in recent American history, but it's far from the first time this has happened at all. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson clashed in 1796 and 1800. John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson battled for votes in 1824 and 1828. Martin Van Buren and William Henry Harrison in 1836 and 1840, Grover Cleveland and Benjamin Harrison in 1888 and 1892, William McKinley and William Jennings Bryan in 1896 and 1900, and finally, Dwight Eisenhower and Adlai Stevenson in 1952 and 1956. If anything, we've been due for another round of this in the 21st century, and now it may come to pass. Like it or not, the incumbent president is never expected to debate also-rans, such as Marianne Williamson and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Unless Biden passes away between now and Election Day, he and Vice President Kamala Harris are the ticket for the Democrats. Meanwhile, Trump's lead is so enormous that he opted to skip the debates altogether. There are circumstances that could lead to his downfall in the primaries, but for the time being, he is the frontrunner by far. It's not even close. Both candidates face popularity deficits outside of their base. Biden has been south of 50% approval nearly his entire administration, and Trump continues to be reviled for his outlandish crimes and desperate attempts to hold on to power. Combined with an increasingly divided electorate, some third parties have seized on this opportunity despite no chance of winning the presidency. Enter no labels. If you don't follow the minutiae of House caucuses, you may be under the mistaken impression that No Labels is a new political party, but that is a half-truth. No Labels has recently filed paperwork to be considered a political party, but that is neither the origin nor the true goal of the organization. It has actually existed since 2010 as a 501 nonprofit that recruits both Democrats and Republicans into their fold. It's currently chaired by outcasts from their own party like Joe Lieberman, and Republicans not in step with the most recent strain of Trumpian social conservative politics like Larry Hogan. On the surface, No Labels claims to be a centrist political organization that was created to foster bipartisanship during the Barack Obama administration and the contentious legislative logjam of that era, but that is not really what's going on. No Labels is not some technocratic, get-things-done apolitical group. No Labels has a label, it just doesn't announce what that label is in interviews. No Labels has specific goals. It just prefers to present itself as some kind of neutral playing field for any and all ideas. So what is No Labels actually about? No Labels exists primarily to advance right-wing economic politics and centrist social politics, so long as those policies do not interfere with profits. Put more simply, No Labels is full of millionaires and billionaires who work together to align with politicians and buy their support, specifically their support for low taxes for the wealthy. The super rich do not want to be taxed if they can help it, and donating to certain politicians and political organizations assist them in this goal. No Labels is one such organization. No Labels is not held together by enlightened centrists. It's held together by billionaires belonging to either party for the purpose of holding on to their wealth. As explained by Sue Halpern of The New Yorker, the group eventually approached a roster of politically diverse billionaires including David Koch, Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, Mark Cuban, George Soros, and Michael Bloomberg. Reportedly, few of them signed on, but No Labels refuses to reveal its backers because, it says on its website, "We live in an era where agitators and partisan operatives try to destroy and intimidate organizations they don't like by attacking their individual supporters." Even so, over the years, a number of high net worth individuals are reported to have donated, including Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas's billionaire friend, who gave the group more than $130,000 between 2009 and 2021, and brought in nearly 24 other donors. Let's unpack this. First of all, hiding the names of the people involved in the organization is a huge red flag, especially donors to the organization. Second, there is only so much variation in the politics of billionaires. They might fund different candidates and espouse different social politics, but they are firmly in favor of keeping their taxes low, holding on to their money, and the fantasy of being job creators instead of oppressors and exploiters. No Labels does not seek so-called politically diverse billionaires, it seeks out billionaires to maintain the goal of the billionaire class. No Labels is a one-issue organization. So how does it accomplish this goal? How does it engage with its one issue? Mostly through what is commonly called dark money. In the world of politics, dark money refers to spending meant to influence elections in which the source is not disclosed in public. Laws exist to curtail this practice, but every law has a loophole, especially if the laws are written by people who benefit from these loopholes. Imagine that. No Labels is a 501c4 nonprofit, which means it's a tax-exempt social welfare organization. By classifying itself this way, No Labels can do two things. It can avoid taxes, and it can spend money on candidates surreptitiously because many 501 nonprofits don't have to disclose their donors even if they spend on elections. A social welfare organization is allowed to do this so long as this does not become their primary purpose. However, the Internal Revenue Service has never truly locked down what primary purpose means in this context. Because of this ambiguity, an organization like No Labels can use dark money whenever they want. No Labels gives money to political action committees that are sympathetic to their cause, including the anti-tax conservative group Citizens for a Strong America. See, this is why No Labels calls itself a bipartisan political organization that is dedicated to whatever they consider centrism. By doing this, they can claim that this is their primary goal, and that funding candidates sympathetic to the billionaire class is merely a secondary goal. But their public secondary goal is really their primary goal, and we know this because that's really all that they do. Making speeches and manifestos about centrism is what they do in public, but this is clearly not their primary objective. They want results, and they're gonna get them. Dark money has been a major component in American politics for a long time, but according to Open Secrets, it exploded right around the time that No Labels showed up. No Labels did not invent this loophole, but they sure did exploit it. By 2010, the amount of nonprofits that classified themselves as social welfare organizations skyrocketed. The wealthy figured out this trick, and they have been exploiting it ever since. One reason this scam caught on around this time had to do with a 2010 United States Court of Appeals decision and a later 2014 FEC decision. The courts decided that until a nonprofit officially nominates a candidate, it's not subject to the normal campaign finance laws. That's how they get away with all of this. In addition to giving money to super PACs that assist politicians with their interests, No Labels is behind the creation of a caucus called the Problem Solvers. Again, it has a front-facing appearance of just getting things done, but the things it gets done favor billionaires. The Problem Solvers Caucus contains both Democrats and Republicans, but they are held together in their shared belief that the wealthy owe us nothing. The Problem Solvers and their no-label masters have been instrumental in blocking tax increases on the wealthiest Americans and businesses for their entire history, but especially in 2021 and 2022. According to Sarah Sirota of The Intercept, the mid-August uprising against President Joe Biden's agenda was rewarded with an avalanche of campaign contributions from some of the country's wealthiest donors, many of them with shared connections to the dark money group No Labels, a review of federal campaign disclosure records finds. Some of their shared donors are linked to No Labels, whose high-income members face greater taxes under Build Back Better, which would roll back some of Donald Trump's 2017 tax cuts. According to emails revealed 2 years ago, No Labels enthusiastically applauded Senator Kyrsten Sinema for tanking legislation designed to expand Medicare, Medicaid, child care, elder care, and oh yes, taxes for the wealthy. Senator Joe Manchin tends to side with Sinema and the conservatives on issues like this because he receives money from No Labels, according to Open Secrets. If you were ever wondering why Sinema and Manchin are always at odds with the party, now you know. Practically all politicians are controlled or bought in one way or another, but some politicians have worse donors than others, let's just say. So what now? Why is No Labels rebranding itself as a political party and trying to get on the ballot? Wouldn't that complicate matters for themselves with the FEC? To answer the second question first, it's possible that No Labels is ready to become a larger force in American politics and requires becoming a political party for its expansion. They lose one thing but gain something else at the same time. To answer the first question, one theory is that No Labels might be doing this more as a threat than anything else. The Republican Party is already on board with their primary goal, the rich getting richer, and for any Democrat who wants to get in the way, No Labels can say, "Do what we say, or we'll keep doing this every election." No Labels is a center-right organization, but because of the way they promote themselves and some other factors, analysts claim that they may draw more support away from Joe Biden. As explained by William Galston of the Wall Street Journal, polls taken thus far point in the same direction. The net effect of the bipartisan ticket would be to weaken Joe Biden's prospects against Donald Trump. The most recent poll, conducted by the Prime Group, offers details about how this would work. In a two-way race, Mr. Biden would beat Mr. Trump in the popular vote 52% to 48%, but in a three-way race, Mr. Trump would receive 40% of the vote to Mr. Biden's 39%, giving the former president a majority in the Electoral College. Put simply, the Prime Group found that about two-thirds of the support for the independent bipartisan ticket would come from voters who would otherwise support Mr. Biden. This makes sense given that 36% of Democrats identify themselves as moderate compared with 22% of Republicans. In addition, polls have consistently shown that a larger share of Mr. Trump's support is strong, less likely to shift than Mr. Biden's. That leads us to another theory. No Labels might just want Donald Trump as president again. In public, they claim otherwise, especially Larry Hogan claims otherwise, but their Problem Solvers voting record tells us a different story. They were solidly behind him in 2016, even giving him an award called the Problem Solver Promise Award. Also, we know how much they loved his upper-class tax cuts, and we know how much they hate any attempts to reverse those tax cuts. They have been trying to hold on to Trump-era cuts as recently as last year. No Labels is a single-issue organization whether they admit it or not, and the leaders and donors are more likely to favor Trump than Biden. Even if Trump does not end up being the Republican candidate in 2024, No Labels is still more likely to favor any Republican who shares their interests. No Labels is fundraising off dissatisfaction, whether that dissatisfaction is for Biden or Trump, and using that general dissatisfaction to fund a specific goal. Tax cuts for the wealthy. That's the whole thing. That's the entire ballgame. They don't care about anything else. They don't care about consequences. I'm not here to defend the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, but I will say this. If you don't like Biden or Trump, I can assure you that supporting No Labels is not going to get you something better. It's just going to get you Trump again. No Labels is a scam. Nothing more.